Nonprofit and philanthropic leaders devote their lives to the service of others, but sometimes they need a little help. Kristine Michie has been deep in the work and the play of helping changemakers grow their impact for decades. So whether you're ladling soup at a local shelter or attending a UN peace conference, you need to find the balance between the heavy work and a light touch so you don't burn out. And Kristine believes play is at the center of that. Welcome to the Playful Podcast, bringing fun to the serious work of changing the world.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Playful Podcast. We're bringing fun to the serious work of changing the world. And today we're up on Sara Lomelin, who is the CEO of Philanthropy Together, which I love this term, folks. They call themselves a field catalyzer. So we'll have a little fun with wordplay and figure out more about what that means. Sara, welcome.
Thank you so much, Christine. I'm so happy to be here. Delighted to be in conversation with you. I know we had a call where we were like, oh my God, we can be here for hours. So very happy that this time we're sharing the conversation with the world.
Exactly. We want this budding friendship of ours to be witnessed and celebrated and joined by others. It's so exciting. Yeah, the work you're doing is so inspiring. I am a big fan of collective giving and collaborative giving. Folks, that's what Philanthropy Together is focused on, is growing the movement around those coming together to give together. Impactful, my firm does some project management of donor collaboratives, specifically with corporate institutional funders, which is in this whole ecosystem of collaborative giving, a type of that. There's so many places fun to start. I'm going to start with a quote. And first I got to tell you, Sara, how is that you got me to watch an 11-minute video on your website? That video is so good. And I'm sure, the experts always say, people have an attention span of, under a minute or maximum 3-minute video. Congratulations on that. What a wonderful storytelling video that is. And folks, I call that to your attention on their website. So not to spoiler alert, tell you the final quote or one of the final quotes on your kind of your victory video of the work of the last 5 years is, joy and love is what Philanthropy Together will be remembered for.
Yes.
And that sounds like a Playful Podcast kind of vibe. So I'd love to hear about that.
Totally, because I always say, and our team always says that the issues and the challenges that are happening all over the world are sometimes overwhelming, right? And sometimes we feel paralyzed, we feel, anxious, but the act of giving, the act of generosity should be joyful because it's a privilege for each of us to be able to give. So everything that we do, and it's in our values on our website since, 6 years, no, my God, it was end of 2017. So 8 years ago, a group of people got together and we started thinking about what was possible for the universe of giving circles in the US. And we always said, we want to build the party that we want to attend. So, right? Because what you want is a place that you feel happy, you feel playful, you feel joyful, you feel, enclosed in love, right? And this is not the very first time that I work in something like this. Back in the day when I used to work at the Latino Community Foundation, the motto of the foundation was love, culture, and power. But love is always there. And we're in the middle of strategic planning for our next 5 years. And I just want to give, kind of the teaser that one of the main things is love. Yeah. Because I feel that, love is everybody that is around, working in social impact. You have to love humanity. You have to love what you do. So, yes.
Well, and it's our superpower, Sara, and I think in this moment, and I'm so blessed to have had these 200 plus conversations now on the podcast with changemakers like yourself, centering joy, play, and love, and asking these questions about, how do you do that? How do you center joy, play, and love? And in this moment, especially over this last, this 2025 and since the inauguration and some of the just like the challenges where we're grappling with the federal government not only not being supportive of the sector, but really in opposition to the sector. Boy, oh boy, I've had so many of our friends and colleagues say, they can't take my joy. They can't take.
Yeah, no.
And this opportunity that we have to talk about that and lift that up. And we have so many ancestors, right, who had joy and got through things that can inspire us. And I hope we're being that for those who come next and go, hey, I watched and I saw they didn't lose their joy, right? And that's part of what we're talking about today.
Totally. And actually, if I can share a quick story with you, a few weeks ago, I went to Guatemala to a place, to a city called Quetzaltenango, which is in the rural part of Guatemala. And I was invited to do a TEDx to a group of 400 young people from 15 to 21 years old. And all of these young people are part of a leadership program, um, during a year. You cannot believe those, eyes, those, all of them writing notes, all of them coming afterwards to me saying, "Oh my God, I want to do something," because you, we always said that we are in the business of inspiring, right? We're not bringing anything new to the table. People tell me like, "Oh, you're talking about a lot of innovation." I'm like, I'm not. I'm really not. I'm talking about going back to the roots of humanity, right? Of, having a conversation like this, looking at each other in the eyes, finding the common ground in people that may come from very different backgrounds, but finding what makes us human, right? And how can we get together? You just told me like, how can we be in each other's universe and help each other, right? I feel that is the basics of what we do. And I know in the sector we have very fancy words for a lot of things,
Yes.
but it's basically that, right? It's like we are mobilizing people to take care of their neighbors. We are mobilizing people to start looking outside of their own little tiny universe, or their own family, or their own, ecosystem, to look outside and to branch out and to find their people with the same values,
Yeah, yeah.
and give together.
I was just thinking as you said that, you guys are working. How's this sound? You guys are working at the intersection of innovation and ancient practice,
Yes,
right? Because it really
totally.
is. People have always and are in
Always.
always looked around and said, hey, how can we as a group come together and do something for others outside our group and bring them in? When you all created this, there was this fundamental idea, as I understand it, that you wondered how could giving circles, which are by definition of varying sizes and all over the world with different issue areas and focus areas, et cetera, could they benefit from a shared infrastructure of some sort, some shared learning, trainings, platforms? Am I getting that right? And what is that? What in that regard are you providing?
So, yeah, no, that is totally right. So, this movement of collective giving has always been totally decentralized, right? Because, as you said, there are giving circles that have 10 members around the kitchen table. There are giving circles that have 800 people. There are giving circles that mobilize, a few $1,000s a year, giving circles that mobilize millions, and everything in between, right? Like young people, older people, women, co-ed giving circles, etc., etc. So everybody was kind of reinventing the wheel all the time. And years ago in 2016, there was a research report that came out, just showing the landscape of giving circles in the US. And from there, a group of leaders of giving circle networks, because about half of the giving circles that exist in the US are part of networks. And the networks are around affinity, around faith, around ethnicity, around, different things. So a group of us got together and said, what can we do for the whole field? Instead of, each of us trying to reinvent the wheel every time, a problem arises or we have a challenge, what can we do together? So we embarked in a full year of a co-design project, and we involved more than 100 people in this process. And what came out of that, it's Philanthropy Together. So what we are, we're a field catalyst, which is, these very fancy words for saying we are that coral reef of collective giving, right? I don't want to see, like the word infrastructure is always gray, and you think of pipes and and concrete, and it's kind of like ugly. And we're very colorful and joyful. So it's like we call ourselves, we're the coral reef. We are that colorful and live thing that, supports everybody. Everything that we offer is accessible to anyone. Everything is open, open, how's it called? Now I'm sorry, English as a second language.
Oh,
Open source.
Yeah, open source. That's it. Yep.
So we have tons of videos. We have a library of resources. We give trainings that are for free. And we started working just with giving circles for the first 3 years. And then for the past 3 years, because we're on a 6 year, we started working with collaborative funds. And collaborative funds are not like giving circles, but kind of giving circles because they're collective giving. But as you said, usually it involves institutional funders, sometimes corporate funders, high net wealth individuals. So collaborative funds move from a few $1 million to $1 billion a year. So that's a whole other, animal, right? In collective giving. So what we're doing with them, in contrast with giving circles, because with giving circles, we help get giving circles started. With collaborative funds, we're not in the business of get collaborative funds started. We are in the business of supporting the community, of, offering a space for peer learning. We organize a lot of webinars, convenings, peer-to-peer learning. We do a lot of research. So we have been able to also offer a space of conversations for all of these funds that, again, they're doing incredible work, but they were not talking to each other. And the smaller ones have a lot to learn from the larger ones, and the larger ones have a lot to learn from the smaller ones, right? In the way they, the relationship with their grantees and the relationship with the community, etc. So that is exactly what we do.
I love it. And I'm looking at some stats that I got off your website and other materials. $3.1 billion donated through 4,000 groups, populated by 370,000 people over the last 5 years. 3.1 billion. I also saw that you had. I had to check if this was the whole thing. Is it a B or is it a million or is it a billion? 2.1 billion media impressions for the work you're doing?
Yes.
I realized, no, I must have written that down wrong. And I went back and looked.
No.
What's that? Is that because all of those giving circles are getting noticed in their own communities?
So, 10 years ago, right? Like, again, all of these giving circles were doing our work. But, we go to our local station, or we go to, we reach out to a journalist and we said, oh my God, we have news. And they look at us and said, yeah, that's not really news. So the power of, getting everybody together.
Yeah.
Now we're not talking about, we're a group of 20 women, mobilizing $50,000. We're talking about, as you said, 4,000 groups moving $3.1 billion in 5 years. And so it's every time, people said like, oh, giving circles, those are cute. And I'm like, no, we're not cute. We're not cute. It's an extremely powerful movement. And in the case of collaborative funds, they mobilize between 4 to 7 billion a year.
Wow.
So it is collective giving is extremely powerful movement. Giving circles in particular were named by Axios magazine as the fastest growing um, way of philanthropy. Many publications have also called, everyday givers, like like the people that are going to save philanthropy, because especially in a moment like this, where there was a lot of cutting in funding from, the government in a lot of countries, USAID was mobilizing a lot of philanthropic dollars. And the moment that closed, countries are, in trouble. A lot of community-based organizations in Latin America, in Africa, in India are in trouble. So the way of kind of revitalizing their funding again is, spreading the net.
Yes. Yeah.
And the way you do that is reaching out to your own community and never assuming who can give and who cannot give.
Yes.
Right. That's my first lesson. It's like, never assume that because someone has money is going to give to you.
Yeah.
Never assume that because someone doesn't have a lot of money is not going to give to you. So you have to ask, you have to put yourself out there. And this is, for all the community-based organizations and the nonprofits that are watching us, is you have to diversify your funding, period.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be, years ago, a fundraising consultant. I feel like most conversations with most clients included, we want to try and get more individual donors. It's like everybody is trying to figure that out. And collective giving circles, collaborative giving is by definition has figured that out, right? It is that. It doesn't start with the other, it starts with the individual folks. Now, this seems kind of almost redundant to ask because it seems so obvious given your spirit, but let me ask you about how playfulness, joy, love, like we were talking about, how does playfulness make this better, make it work? And I suspect you discover as you encounter new giving circles, new collaborative efforts, you kind of catch them having fun. I mean, they're having a good time together. There must be something about the gathering that is innately playful, joyful. And tell me about your experience with that.
Totally. I mean, why this movement is growing so much? Because it's fun, right? It's fun. It's social. This is not solo philanthropy. It's not me, writing a check or pressing a button saying I'm going to donate. I am getting together with my colleagues, my neighbors, my friends, my cousins, and we are discussing, we're learning, we're laughing, we're, sharing a meal or ice cream or, I mean, last night I had a giving circle meeting from one of the giving circles that I'm part of. And someone said, the work that we do here fills my soul. And I love that, right? Like, and then someone said, I love that this group, there's always someone cries at the one time. I mean, that every time someone cries, because it's very touching, but it's very touching in a playful way, because we have created, you create this like brotherhood or sisterhood or this family outside of your family with people that you may have never met.
Yeah.
But you share values in terms of the causes that move you and what you want to see in the world. And of course, and maybe, that is why the majority of the giving circles are led by women, maybe because we do like to play and to have fun together, right? Yes.
So you've talked about, and you're talking right now about the joy that the givers get. And I'll just quick story. I was actually on a call yesterday with a giving circle collaborative that that my team project manages in New York. And at the very beginning it was our last meeting of the year on Zoom. And we get together 4 times a year in person and the rest of the times on Zoom. And someone came on and she said, oh, sorry, you guys, like I only can stay on for 15 minutes. So we had some business we need to take care of. So we kind of front loaded with that. And then we had planned some kind of holiday fun, to have it be more focused on social. So 40 minutes later, she hasn't left for her 15 minutes. And so I called and I said, hey, I just want to make sure she knew, feel free to go. She goes, no, I'm having so much fun. She goes, I canceled everything else. And this is a woman who works at a big international bank, who I know has year-end business that I'm sure she has to take care of to get grants done and things like that. And she was having so much fun. And I have found that they say this all the time, these donors, that this is the most fun. And who else says it? And I want to get into, I know you guys did a report that came out at the end of 2025 around the joy and the experience of the grantees is
Yes.
equally amazing, special, and different. And I've had that experience with our grantees of this collaborative. I mean, we've gone to karaoke with the funders and the grantees together, whereas usually funders and grantees like don't ever go in the same room because you wouldn't want a grantee to ask a funder for money, right? That's how so much of philanthropy has been set up. So tell me about what this report showed you about the experience for the grantees. And of course, I'm sure you've just got some great stories, things you've witnessed with your own eyes and felt with your own heart about that.
The findings show that this model performs in the top percentiles of institutional funds because of the 5 P's: proximity, partnership, patterns of practice, and the way they embed power in the model with grantees. So there is this lived experience, right, that exists in the collaborative funds staff, that it is something that it's intangible but so incredibly powerful, right? When there is always going to be, this like power dynamics between funder and grantee, always. But the more you have diversity in the funding part of the spectrum, I mean, the less, or the blur, the more blurred lines that you will have, in those power dynamics. Moving on the other side, for the giving circles, right? Like we did a report a couple of years ago, the In Abundance report, and we checked the experience of the giver. But something that we experience all the time is, after we meet grantees and we are giving grants, the grantees called and said, I want to join the giving circle as a giver.
Oh.
So, and that is magical, because that is telling you like, okay, we're doing something well, right? With the relationship and the process has been beneficial to the grantee, that this person, the executive director of this organization, wants to be part of the Giving Circle as a member. And also for the Giving Circle, that is so incredibly rich, because you have a richer conversation, because you have, people that from 9 to 5 have that hat.
Yeah.
And that is, that it's extremely powerful. I feel that I have many stories. I remember one time, a grantee of one of the giving circles that I was managing, the Latinos in Tech giving circle. The Latinos in Tech giving circle gave him, I think it was a $5,000 or $10,000 grant. And he said, the size of this grant is not, it's not my biggest grant, right? Because he was receiving money from big companies. He said, but this is the most important one, because it's my community. It's people that look like me, that are, like literally recognizing my work. Yeah. So I feel that something that we do a lot at Philanthropy Together is donor education, right? And what are the best practices? How can we move more into trust-based philanthropy? How can we, again, not replicate the bad practices of, big P philanthropy? Let's move to something that is a lot more equitable. And I feel that collective giving has that. And in the side of collaborative funds, the collaborative effect report has, the findings right there.
Love it. I'm excited to look at that, and I'm excited to be able to share with the collaboratives that I get to manage, if they haven't seen that, continued proof that thing they're feeling is being felt by others, and is also what makes this effective, right? And that was another thing on this great video that you've got on your website. There was one of your team members quoted that Maya Angelou quote about people don't remember what you did, they'll remember how you made them feel. And that seems to just weave through all of this. Tell us a little bit. I think the story around how COVID was a positive, well, was an influence and perhaps changed the whole trajectory of this, because from the initial idea, and you were launching this, 2 weeks into COVID in 2020, and realizing, bad news, good news. The good news was we couldn't get together in person. I'm sorry, the bad news was you couldn't get together in person, obviously. The good news was, though, that you could meet with anybody. And so you went from potentially just a domestic approach to suddenly realizing, let's just do this thing internationally from the start. Did I get that right?
Exactly. You are totally right. Like the seeds of Philanthropy Together started end of 2017. Then we went into this co-design project and we launched on April 1st, 2020. And the world was very different. I always wanted to have a distributed team, a national team, because we have different perspectives around the country. So my team was always going to be working from home. But suddenly we're like, oh my God, we don't know for how long are we going to be,
Yeah.
each of us in our own homes. So yes, we started putting, the only thing that happened was like literally accelerated the process, right? Our first year was going to be planning, and suddenly we said, no, we need to start putting programming out there. And the first program that we put out, we got a couple of guys from Germany, a woman from Chile, someone from Australia joining, and we're like, whoa, how are these people finding us? And the reality is that, yeah, there were no boundaries anymore. So we went to the website and we scratched National Giving Circle Movement to Global Giving Circle Movement. And it has been amazing because we are working with people all over the world. We have partners in Singapore, in Australia, in Mexico, in Colombia, in the UK, in India. So it's like all over. And I always say that I have the best job in the world because every day I get to meet incredible change makers all over. So, and the same, with the collaborative funds. The collaborative funds, it's something that is extremely international. Actually, there are many collaborative funds in the African continent, and those funds are the ones teaching best practices to a lot of funds in the global north. So it's a good reminder in times like this, to remember that at the end of the day, because of the internet, because of communications, the world is tiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we should all be getting together and getting along instead of, going into little tiny groups.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah.
We talk a lot on the podcast about a third thing. To whatever degree we get stuck in these binaries and we're labeling people as either, us or them and this and that. Finding that third thing and the joy of giving, finding that affinity, that thing, that issue area or that geography or that passion that people share is that third thing. And I mean, I'm not trying to force this metaphor, but I think ice cream is a third thing. I mean, it's really one of the reasons we have it as sort of kind of central to the podcast is like, everyone loves it. And it's a thing to come together around. And with the podcast and with the people like yourselves, we're doing, like we talked about, doing hard work and being able to do it in a way where we can keep our joy and spirit up. And I just wanted to, we're going to step away and get our ice cream here real quick. But I just wanted to say, as you were talking about the different groups, I mean, again, I saw some images and just as a sense of the spectrum of the kinds of groups that can be involved. There was one picture I saw of like a pretty well-heeled looking group of women in a ballroom, probably in a hotel somewhere. And I think they were in Palm Beach. And so it's like a giving circle in Palm Beach. And then in the same slideshow, a group of maybe 9 or 10 women in Malawi. And I was like, wow. I mean, that just showed me. And And your third thing, right? Your through line that connects those two and everyone else is the power of, more, not just solo giving, me and one other person, me and dozens or hundreds of others coming together around a shared purpose. So I'm totally inspired. Let's go get our ice cream. And we're going to come
Totally.
back and talk about what's the scoop on how you came to care. All right, we'll be right back, folks.
Okay, folks, welcome back. Sara and I are now here to enjoy some ice cream together and finish up the conversation that we had a bit ago, a little bit before the holidays. Now it's after the holidays, and we are still, I know you were during the holidays, bringing fun to the serious work of change in the world. Now more than ever, I would love to hear a little bit from you. First of all, tell me about the ice cream arriving, because folks, it's such a fun thing when to Harker Brothers ice cream arrives on your doorstep with their nationwide shipping. It is a bunch of joy on the porch. So tell me about that, Sara.
Oh my God. I mean, the moment the door rang and you have this beautiful, huge hot pink box that you're like, oh my God, how much ice cream is in there? But it comes, with dry ice and everything. You know what I loved? It was not plastic or styrofoam
Hmm.
or just
Right.
horrible things. It was all cardboard and dry ice, which is, pretty easy to manage.
Yep.
And these beautiful ice creams. I
Yes.
mean,
Oh my
my
God.
whole freezer is full of it, and it is just delicious. And you know what I loved? And everybody needs to go on their website and click on that video to hear the story of the
Yeah.
company. I
Yes.
loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, folks, what Sarah's referring
Yeah,
to is on their
there it
website, to
is.
harkerbrothers.com. They've got an Our Story link, and you click on that. There's a video that talks about the origin story of the company, which is employee owned, social enterprise, money and profits to charity. And it started out because a young black man was killed in the Baltimore area, and the community was looking for solutions, answers, those things that unfortunately we've gotten in common with understanding that the community rallies and wonders how to respond. And one of those ways was the company that began. I mean, did you notice they started out with like a janitorial company and landscaping
Yes,
services, and they're like, we need something more fun, and so they changed to an ice cream company.
I
It's
loved it. I
fantastic.
loved it.
So now, have you had any of the ice cream yet?
Well, yes. Yesterday I started with the pistachio, and
Oosh,
today I am going. Well, my kids already dig into this, but I am going to get some of the roasted strawberry ice cream, and it looks delicious, and it smells delicious, and let's see.
excellent. Okay, and folks, I ended up today. So those of you that are watching on YouTube, I am in a public place and I'm having a shake because I didn't have my Harker Brothers with me. My day ended up out on the road versus at my house by my freezer. So I'm having, but in concert with you, I'm having a strawberry shake.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, this is delicious. It's super creamy, and it's like eating jam with ice cream. It's delicious. It's really delicious.
A great way to say it.
Mhm.
Tell me, are you having the non-dairy roasted strawberry?
No, it's totally dairy. It's milk and cream. And you know what I
Okay,
like too? It's really,
yum yum yum.
very few ingredients. Yeah, it's good, all cream and
Yes,
milk and
yeah,
sugar and
it's really
strawberries. Yes. Hmm.
clean ice cream, as they say. And I know they also have a dairy-free roasted strawberry that people have told me tastes exactly as good. Okay, so one little last bit about your story that fits into this conversation while we're having ice cream is what's the scoop on how you came to care? Maybe an
Hmm.
early memory or story when you kind of realized the world was bigger than you and there were maybe problems that could be solved and that wasn't somebody else's job to do, but you felt like you had a role and some responsibility in trying to make the world better.
Yeah, well, first of all, I grew up in Mexico City, and my parents were always, big in service and
Mhm.
helping other people. My mom was a preschool teacher, preschool educator, so her whole life was about, how you impact lives, right? In this case, very young lives. And my dad was always about, um, having this sense of responsibility that if you have the privilege and
Mhm.
of being able to have an education, being able to to be able to give jobs or whatever, you needed to do something. So I grew up like that. And then when I moved to the US, and a few years after that, I had a lot of friends from Mexico City that were living, I was living in Texas at that time. And at some point, we said, you know what? We are not in a shopping trip or a shopping vacation
Mm.
anymore. We're here, we're living in this country. Our kids were born here and are growing up here. And we have a responsibility to give back to this country that opened, its arms to us. And that's how I started my first giving circle. Because we saw that this whole idea of the American dream for a lot of people was not real. And we saw the need of young Latina moms in the Dallas Metroplex area. And we, at that point, I was a young mom, and we said, what about, helping moms the same age as we are and supporting them? So when we started our first Giving Circle, we supported an organization that was helping Latina moms and young children in Dallas. So yes, I feel that that's the scoop. And from there, I just got totally passionate about the model and about, changing that narrative of saying, you know what, I'm not going to take no for an answer when I invite people to give or to get involved. I every time that people said like, oh, I'm not a millionaire, or I'm not rich enough, or everybody has something to give. So just do it. Yeah.
I love it. This our episode, your episode is going to be part of this Innovators series. It is part of the Innovators series, and this idea, these innovative, you know, their innovations, innovative thinking, like all of that, right? And this even something as innovative as that thought that you're like, reframing, right? Innovation is about reframing. People thinking, oh, like only this kind of person can be philanthropic, only this kind of person can really have that kind of impact, and you opening up people's aperture and their vision for that is being so much bigger. I love it. It has been so fun talking to you about your work and following it. And I think right now, the start to this new year has been pretty fraught already. Both internationally and global. I mean, and here in the U.S. and so much of it kind of caused by us Americans. And I've been noticing in some conversations about protests and things that are again called for, that there's a real focus on grassroots individual actions. I saw something today that was like, this is after you know Goods killing in Minneapolis. Put a sign in your own car window that you make in your house on a piece of paper with a marker pen and put it in the window of your car. Like this idea of like everybody, those all those single actions, and I think more than ever we aren't and can't be waiting for someone else to tell us what to do. Let's start doing it, and then we'll see each other doing it, right. And in that, the movement gets bigger because that gives us that sense that if we're feeling alone, we're not, right? Because we see outward symbols. There was a conversation this week's episode with Scott Nakagawa from 22nd Century Initiative. This will be a few weeks later, folks, when you're listening to this episode. But he was talking about the power of symbols. So seeing symbols that each other are putting forward, saying, "Look, this is not okay. This is what I stand for," and signaling to others. So anyway, that just reminds me of your perspective and your mindset from the beginning. Like your own self, a young mother, kind of like making it in the world, right? That wasn't sufficient for you. Like, I bet there are others, right? And
Yeah.
so then you reached out your hand and created that opportunity and that collaborative.
And I feel that, I know it sounds cliche, but it's not. We are the leaders we have been waiting for. It's like
Yes.
we cannot be waiting for someone to come and better our own communities. We have to do it. And as you said, more than ever, we need to be vocal, we need to be courageous, we need to be brave, and we need to just stand for our values.
I love
And
it.
And again, it sounds innovative, but it's not. It's just going back to the roots of what makes us
Yes.
humans.
Yes. Yes.
So this is something that has been going on for, millennia.
Mhm.
And we just need to stop from the busyness and the noise that surrounds us and focus on what is important.
You just gave me the vision of it's the intersection of innovation and primal.
Yes.
It's,
Yes.
right? All right. Well, thank you so much for all the time you've spent with us. And thank you for the work you're doing. And we will be making sure that everybody that's listened will get to follow and support and
Awesome.
including me. All right. Thanks so much, Sara.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad we're bringing fun to the serious work of change in the world.
Yes.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to the Playful Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review it on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you know of a leader or organization that's doing good in the world and you'd love to help us help them amplify their message, I would love to have them on the show. Go to the show notes and click there, or go to impactfulinc.com/contact. And that's impactful with 2 L's, inc.com/contact. And let us know who you're thinking about. Can't wait to see you next time.